The Bear is the most talked about show on television. Emmy sweeping, culture defining, the kind of hit that networks dream about. And it's ending. Not because it got cancelled, not because the ratings dropped, not because the cast wants out. It's ending because the creators planned it that way from the beginning. Jamie Lee Curtis, who plays Donna Berzato, the chaotic matriarch of the family, just confirmed what insiders have been whispering for months. Season 5 will be the last. It is the end of the show, she told Entertainment Tonight. Everybody knows it's the end of the show. They've said it from the beginning. In an era where networks will milk every hit until the audience begs them to stop, why is FX's biggest cultural phenomenon pulling the plug at the absolute height of its power? Because they learned from everyone else's mistakes. Here's what most people don't understand about The Bear. You cannot make this show forever. This isn't a sitcom where characters crack jokes and go home. This isn't a procedural where you can reset every week. The Bear is designed to be a pressure cooker. Every episode is a rolling boil of generational trauma, panic attacks, screaming matches, and psychological breakdowns. The performances from Jeremy Allen White, Ayo Edebiri, Ebon Moss-Bachrach, they're not acting, they're enduring. The show demands a level of emotional exhaustion that isn't sustainable long term. You can see it in every frame. The handheld cameras, the overlapping dialogue, the constant sense of chaos barely held together. That intensity is what makes The Bear brilliant. But it's also what would destroy it if they tried to stretch it to season 8 or 10. If you keep actors in that state for too long, one of two things happens. They burn out, or the audience does. The tension that feels electric in season 2 starts to feel exhausting by season 7. The anxiety that once drew you in becomes the reason you stop watching. Creator Chris Storer understood this from day one. 5 seasons. That's the plan. That's the limit. And this puts The Bear in rare company. Think about the prestige shows that actually ended on their own terms. Breaking Bad, The Sopranos, Succession, Fleabag. What do they all have in common? The creators had total control over when to end. Now compare that to what happens when a network gets greedy. Yellowstone became a legal nightmare with spin-offs nobody asked for. Game of Thrones rushed its final season because the showrunners wanted to move on, but HBO wanted more episodes. The Walking Dead limped along for years after the story ran out. The difference is simple. Auteur-driven shows die with dignity. Corporate franchises get milked until they collapse. The Bear is choosing the first path. By capping the story at 5 seasons, Chris Storer is taking the power away from FX executives. He's not letting them turn Kami's story into an extended universe. No spin-off about Richie opening a food truck. No prequel about young Mikey. Just 5 perfect seasons. A complete story. And then, it's over. Jamie Lee Curtis didn't just leak the end of a show. She confirmed its legendary status. Because here's the truth. The only way to become a classic is to end before you become a punchline. Breaking Bad is considered one of the greatest shows ever made because it ended at season 5, right when it was still perfect. If they'd kept going, if Walter White had somehow survived and season 6 became about him escaping to Mexico, the legacy would be ruined. The Sopranos ended abruptly, controversially, and became immortal because of it. Succession ran for 4 seasons and left everyone wanting more. That's the point. You're supposed to want more. The Bear understands this. They know that 5 seasons of brilliance beats 10 seasons of diminishing returns. So when Jamie Lee Curtis says it's the end, she's not mourning, she's celebrating. Because The Bear will go down in history precisely because it knew exactly when to turn off the stove and walk out of the kitchen. In a TV landscape where everything gets franchised, rebooted, and squeezed dry, The Bear is doing something radical, respecting its own story enough to let it end. And that's why it'll be remembered long after most other shows are forgotten. Season 5, final service. And then, yes chef, they're done.